Kathy, come on up. Whatever people call about.
Watch the show and see if you'd like to come, okay?
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
You're waiting for it.
You got to do your greetings.
Like, here's Johnny or what?
Welcome, everybody, to
Welcome to Taxpayers Hotline. This is Councilman Kaz Kwiatkowski and my sometimes good friend.
Yeah, sometimes. John Steiner. How's everybody doing today?
I think we're doing okay.
Good.
You know, I got a lot of complaints about the rain.
Complaints about the rain?
I said to someone, I said, why are you complaining about the rain? You know, think about December. You know.
Yeah, really. You know, I reposted a picture on Facebook a couple of days ago. 3 years ago, it was minus 22 degrees. And, you know, we were complaining about the little bit of cold that we had then, but that was 3 years ago when we had the polar vortex. Remember, minus 22 degrees.
You know, I don't think we had a cold below zero day here yet, did we?
You know,
I remember.
It hasn't been cold, but the snow has been bad, but hopefully we're done with that. 60 degrees tomorrow.
How much?
60.
Wow. I'm proud of the fact when we go downstate.
Yeah.
They look at us like, you know, we're the Edmonton Eskimos.
Yeah, right.
They really do. They go, you know what? It's like a badge of honor. We tell them, you know.
Right.
You know what happens in our town when we get this kind of snow?
What's that?
By nightfall, we were already up at the mall.
Yeah, right. By bus, too.
As long as they kept the parking lots open.
Right.
You know, we'd be up at the movie theater, but. Yeah. That's Erie for you. We're tough.
A lot of sad things going on.
Like what?
Since the last show, you know, the shooting and the school shootings. I mean, we got to do something, Kaz. Something drastic.
I just don't think anything's going to, you know what? We tried, John, on a small scale here. We had an ordinance that says you couldn't take guns into a city park.
Right.
And we were beat in court on that.
Yeah.
But,
you know, it's getting to the point where, you know, the whole gun control thing is a hot topic. And
well, you know, I think they misconstrue and say every time you open your mouth up, you get in trouble in this argument. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a right to have firearms.
Yes.
I think where the argument is how far do we go, or you know, what do we do? Do we, you know?
In my personal opinions, I hate the term gun control. I mean, we're not trying. I don't think that the people.
But see, we're right back to Panmunjom, John.
The what?
I call it Panmunjom.
What's that?
Panmunjom was the peace talks in Korea.
Okay.
Where they spent literally, I think, a year and a half deciding which side of the table they were going to sit on every morning.
Yeah.
Nothing ever got done.
Yeah. Because
they couldn't agree on the semantics of a word, like like we're talking here about control. It's the same argument we have with the issue. We get all kinds of issues where we argue about the wording. Yeah. You know, okay, put the wording aside. You know, decide on what the right word is. But
the word gun control, I think, it connotates a lot of things.
But John,
it needs to be something more like mass casualty control.
We control a car better than we do, or liquor better than we do a gun. I mean, you know what?
When the founding fathers wrote that, they had muskets. They didn't have AR-15s where they could roll into any school and just start blasting away.
Go ahead, caller.
I didn't think you guys would be on today.
Why is that? President's Day?
Is the City Hall closed today?
No, City Hall's. Is the courthouse closed?
The courthouse probably is closed today. I was kind of surprised.
Our employees work on President's Day.
Oh, okay.
And Election Day, too, by the way.
Did you hear about that Tops Market? They've been going bankrupt.
Yeah, you know what? Years ago when I found out, I never knew this. We went up there to get some freebies one time for a PTA gathering we had, and we were told they were owned by a Dutch company. Now, since that time, that's been sold, but it points out that, and I tell my wife this, and I can see what's happening in the world. We're buying more and more off the Internet, like the Amazons and the, what's the other one? Whole Foods now. But think about all the brick and mortar stores that we're going to be out of employees. They're not going to pay taxes. So I don't know where this leads. What's your thought?
I'd hate to lose another store on the east side there.
Yeah, I kind of thinking that if we lose that one, what do we pick up? Do we pick up an Aldi's? Do we pick up
A Save-A-Lot, a Surefire?
Save-A-Lot? We got them.
I was going to say, do you have that rate on? You have the between the Erie County Farms, you have Save-A-Lot, Erie County Farms, and Walmart, all just sucking up all that business. And a store like Tops, they're lost in the shuffle of everything.
Well, not only that, but it's going to affect. Look at Giant Eagle. I was at Giant Eagle the other day, and they're putting in a delivery system. See, the whole world now is delivery system or send it to me.
Well, Walmart, you can call an order and then they'll bring it right out to your car.
Right. So, I mean, what you got to do is, like this gentleman says, what's going to happen to that brick and mortar store that's paying taxes and employing people? What do you do with them? You agree on that, sir?
I don't believe in that, carry that stuff. I like to pick my own stuff up, but,
I do too, but the world is changing, and I'm telling you, I worry like you do that, I don't know how many more food chains there are out there that, Wegmans is probably not coming in the city.
Come back into town or something.
Yeah.
Well, the new thing that they're talking is the whole Blue Zone thing. Are you familiar with that situation?
I've heard a little bit.
Where, they have, grocery stores that promote healthy foods. And, when you go to the store and right on your way out, you have the candy bars and the potato chips and all this, your impulse buys where they, locate, healthy foods and different things like that. But, like the sad part is we can't get a store down on East 6th Street over there by the Bayfront Highway to save our life. I mean,
that's why, grocery business has always been a wild one.
Yeah.
I'll get off there.
Well, that's okay. I like your comments. So what do you think we should do, though?
I don't know. Pray.
I look out there and I look at the chains that are available. And, like if you go out east, you got big markets don't come this far. There's another chain out there I'm trying to think.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Tops and Winn-Dixie's are the same company.
I don't think so. But
I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And Winn-Dixie's are really big down south.
Yeah, they are. They
because I mean, when I was in Florida, I lived down there for a while. They're all over the place.
It was Winn-Dixie, Harris Teeter, Food Lion.
I mean, for that whole chain.
Remember Food Lion?
Yeah.
But those stores don't come up this far, like Kroger. When I was a kid, we had a Kroger here, but Kroger doesn't come this far. And if you go to like Allentown area, you got Big and you got Weiss Markets. They're not coming here.
Well, like we talked about on the show before, when a chain is looking to relocate somewhere, they'll look at the demographic study, they look at our poverty rate, they look at all that, and they're going to say we can't. That would not be a wise business decision.
And they're going to stay with Walmart Foods,
and they're going. And Walmart will continue to do their thing, and Erie County Farms has their little niche, which is good. But as far as the 38, I'd hate to see that go. That's where I go. I go to Tops. I try to stay away from Walmart.
You still there, sir? Oop. He's got a good point, though. See, the trouble is, like, I hear it all the time when you say, why don't you bring a Wegmans here? They're not even going into Harbor Creek. And you start to wonder about, you lose another store like Tops and, Go ahead, caller.
I'd like to make a couple comments.
Go ahead.
First of all, comment about you with the stores with the deliveries. You have to read between the lines. Wegmans will deliver, but you have to pay so much or join for the whole year.
Yeah, but the young kids today, they like that stuff.
I understand that.
That's not me, though. That's not me, John.
Well, don't have $150 to join a club where they'll deliver your groceries if you spend X amount of dollars.
Well, I guess my point was that.
No, your point is.
I mean, I can see everybody's buying on Amazon now, and so you're taking these. I tell you, the next one that's in trouble, and they predicted this as Best Buy, Macy's, Penny's. They're teetering.
Any store located at the Mill Creek Mall area in the Summit Plaza, they're under assault by the Amazons of the world.
Right, and you know what? And unless you get that Amazon warehouse in your backyard.
Well, we're never going to see that, I'll tell you right now.
Oh, you know, actually,
Pittsburgh is still in the running.
Actually, well, no, I'm not talking about that. You know what we need? Our greatest asset is our greatest liability. We're between three cities.
Right.
Now, if we were to pull our assets and say, look, we were never going to get that headquarters. They wanted 1 million people. Well, we're not even close.
Oh.
Okay, we're not even close. We don't even have the airport they want or anything like set up. But in a small way, if we could get a warehouse distribution, like I've been to cities like Allentown and Roanoke, Virginia, they got regional warehouses.
True.
That's what we need. If you're gonna lose a store, at least if you got a warehouse in return, that'd be something. But you know, we're not getting them.
Okay, let's get off that subject. I just threw that in.
Well, that's okay. It's a good topic because we better start thinking about it.
All right, now I want to go another place. Did you, city council, gender people, did you vote on the raises or the salaries for the mayor's staff?
No, he can do that. The only problem is going to be, up to now, he's been very clear about he's eliminated some jobs.
Well, go ahead.
And
I understand that. I have follow-up on that.
And the problem is going to be in September and October when we have our finance meetings. I'm going to watch this pretty close.
Well, that was my next question.
And when he starts running out of money, if he does.
Well, he's already made transfers.
Well, what he did was, and that's okay, because what he did was, there's been jobs here that, were marginal. We didn't really need them. So he's taken those jobs, retitled them, and taken the money that council had budgeted early in the year for him, properly went through council, and told us he wanted to transfer the money, which is the way he has to do it. And he's created new jobs using money that was available. But still, at the end of the year, you're right. And if we get to October and September, okay, I'm not going to be a happy camper if we're starting to go out of money.
Now, these jobs that he took the money from, were they going to affect the taxpayers on service?
No, they were administrative
jobs.
Well, here, I'll give you an example. And I agree with Joe Schember on this one. For years, we do not have a person that adequately markets the city of Erie. We need somebody to go out there and actually bring in business. Go up there to
$4,000 a month like the gaming casino does for a lobbyist?
Not a lobbyist. I'm saying what we don't do in Erie is, if you watch other cities, they'll go up to an Applebee's restaurant. They'll go up to a Sam's Club. They'll go up to Walmart and say, what does it take for you to move into the city of Erie? What do you need? A contact person. Okay? We've never done that to that extent. We've also never had grant writers, and we've never had a city planner in a number of years.
I thought we had a grant writer way back when Joyce was...
Yeah, but we eliminated him. See, that's the problem. Every mayor can do what he wants. So Joe Schember, in effect, is saying he's redesigning his cabinet, which he can do. He just has to make sure the money's going to be there, and it might not be at the end of the year. That's when it's going to be a problem.
Well, they write economic development. Economic development grants and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do, but we need to go further. I'll give you an example. Chris Groner, who was written up in the paper, had some novel ideas. He come down to council and told us some of the things he had in mind that could provide more money to lend out. See, this is what we have to do. We need to be, in the old days, we had a lot of jobs that were redundant. That's what I'm saying, John. We're not taking out like plow drivers, okay? We're taking out office staff that was in positions that, you could have another person do that job and just as easy by combining. You follow me, John?
Yeah, multitasking is pretty tough. I have another thing. When you're talking about redevelopment and everything, I see here a little bit ago, the redevelopment wanted to be forgiven on their back taxes and their liens against them. Did council, of course, we pay for that regardless.
Yeah, well, here's the problem with redevelopment. how do you say that this is one you can't win? They're a government agency, and if you press them, guess who's going to have to pay in the end?
Well, that's true.
I mean, seriously, it was a bad mistake. It was run wrong years ago. Everybody knows where the problem started. I'm not going to point any fingers, but it was back there.
On.
Huh?
It's still going on.
Yeah, well, they tried to, they made, when Dave Dieterman was there, he made a lot of attempts to bring it in line. But the problem is they're left with what we call legacy expenses.
True.
He's not there anymore?
No, he moved into a job into the...
It's like the same thing with the water authority and the sewer authority. They go belly up. You guys have to figure where the money's coming from.
Right, so we play hardball with the redevelopment. It's just, we're going to have to pay it anyway. But I think we have to go back to...
Somebody in there who knows what they're doing.
Well, they had Dave. Dave was doing a good job there, but he was offered a unique chance to do something better.
Where at?
Economic development.
So he's with the Economic Development Department now?
Yeah, he's actually, I like Dave, and Dave is he's what we need.
Dave, I've worked with Dave, and like when
Everything he touches is good.
I sat on that.
There's so many things going on. You have to be on top of all that stuff. Just like I see a piece in the paper, was it this morning's paper, that one state senator says there's grant money available for body cameras. Well, I didn't think body cameras were illegal to audio tape potential felons.
Well, you mean you didn't think they were legal?
They're not legal.
Well, we went to a seminar at the League of Cities when I was here in Erie. Sonia was there, I was there. I think Curtis might have been there. There was about three of us. And we listened to Harrisburg, Lancaster, who have some pilot programs. The law's being changed, but the problem is, even if we were to get cameras...
You can't violate a person's rights.
Well, they're changing that.
I mean, he's right, though.
Well, the Commonwealth, though, is in a process.
It's going to go a big process. This is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
It probably will, but the problem is going to be... in Pennsylvania, the wiretapping law was what was preventing when the policeman could use the body cam and when he couldn't.
Right. Well, people have that.
But they're changing that now because, like you said, with what's going on in the world, they're addressing that issue about when can a policeman use it. See, the whole thing came down to if you tape someone, you had to expunge the tape. If you were in there and you were an innocent person, somebody had to go through there, expunge the tape in such a way that people that weren't a vested interest in it had to be taken out and all that. You have to keep them on file. There was a lot of questions, even though the money's there for a grant.
Well, I understand the video part of it, but the audio part.
Well, they're going to change that, John.
Well, a lot of people, they have an expectation of privacy.
Well, I thought that the previous chief had a good idea where he was coming up with that 360-degree camera. It's not on a police officer, it's on the car.
Right.
And that is legal.
Yes, but a lot of things it's a fluid situation. As we were told, the legislature in Pennsylvania is changing things as we speak. And
yeah, that's going to take a long time.
Yeah, but in the meantime, like it sounds good even if we were to buy the cameras. It's a lot like when Obama and Clinton and George Bush and all of them would give Erie policemen.
What was the act?
What they would never tell you was how were you going to pay for them after the
make
program was done.
The video and the audio.
Well, that's the question. We can get the cameras,
handle it.
but we're going to have a department.
You're going to have an expert.
We're going to have to hire people to...
You're going to have a videography department.
Yep.
You're going to have... you have Mike here. Mike's going to need extra staff.
Well, Mike might not be the one that can do it.
Someone like Mike.
You might have to have a police officer because you're dealing with sensitive material that...
True.
Yeah. What's the act that they passed where, after 9/11, where you could listen in on people? What was
Patriot Act, wasn't
the
it?
Patriot Act.
Yeah, did they reaffirm that? Or
I think they did reaffirm that.
Yeah. I don't think they've made any, I haven't heard any changes to it.
I
But
got one more thing that I'm going to get out of here.
Okay.
I called City Hall 3 times today, and I got a complete runaround.
You didn't call Joe's number?
That was next. By the way, people don't know his number. It's 870-1200. But I called Fire Administration.
Yeah.
I got a dance from her. I called Code Enforcement. I got a dance from them. So the reason I called was I went by 38th and State, and I can have a real bad smell of gas. And then I called 870-1111.
Oh, the mayor's new number.
The mayor's new advocate, and I talked to him, and a lot of people wanted me to call National Fuel, and I said, well, it's not my home. Why should I call National Fuel? And then the one person said, call 911. I said, I don't want to call 911, and if I do call 911 and tell them the problem could be an explosion or something, they're going to send a fire truck out, and that fire truck just running will cost me $700 as a taxpayer with 4 men in the equipment.
Yeah, somebody's got to look at it, though. I mean,
I got a hold of him, and I told him the explanation, and I told him it wasn't my house, but every time I go by, I can smell fumes. Well, he got right onto it, and as I was going over there this morning, I see somebody from National Fuel with a sniffer.
that was Moz did that, huh?
Yes.
I have to tell him, see, this is one of the ideas when you were saying, what did the mayor do different? This is a job where,
With Joe Borges' daughter.
Wow, that was a long time ago, and
That's true, but we don't do things what we did in the past. We look for new stuff.
Yeah, and he's got, Moz is a veteran of City Hall, so.
Oh, I understand that, and he gave me all the time, and he asked me for my phone number and everything else to recall me, but I thought I'd just mention it, that he's trying to do a darn good job, and in my opinion, he is.
Yeah, because you know what, if we don't take things serious, that's when things happen.
And we don't do it the old way. We look for new ways.
There you go.
And I'm sick of gender votes, but we're going to get gender votes from here on in. Have a great day.
I'm not going down that road.
Honestly, I don't know about if I agree with that.
What?
I think that everybody that's the newly elected people, I think that their hearts are in the right place. I don't think it's a gender vote.
But that's how it's being portrayed on social media.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, afternoon, guys. Hey, real quick on the gun control thing. Until NRA gets out of Washington and stops with the lobbying, there's nothing that's going to be done. Because Democrats and Republicans are getting money from the NRA. So.
Oh, yeah.
They're getting millions and millions of dollars.
I think John McCain got $7 million, and the bottom guy got $1 million.
But
go ahead.
Go ahead, caller.
But it's, yeah, I mean, hey, then, Cass, even if they do stop automatic weapons, these crazy guys, they're going to get them from somewhere else. They'll get Russian-made automatic weapons. I mean, it's not going to stop.
Well, I think
try all you want, but it's not going to stop, and it's really sad.
Here's my thoughts. There's no need for AR-15s or automatic weapons, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. That's for military only, John. Well, you're right.
An AR-15 is okay, John?
It's not okay.
Well, it's okay in its format, okay? Because an AR-15 it's not even a military version. Doesn't even have what they call burst fire.
Okay.
When I was in the Army, we had automatic, and we had semi-automatic, and we had burst, okay? They took out the automatic, to my knowledge, in the Army, because it's a waste of ammo, okay?
Right.
So you have burst fire, but in its format, it's okay. It's when you start adding magazines that are 30 banana clips, which we called them, 30-round clips, 18-round clips, bump stocks. You buy a sear pin and you make it automatic. That's when it becomes.
Well, what's going to happen is that these the AR-15s. If we outlaw those type of guns, he's right. You're going to get it from here and there.
Well, here's
but
what you got to do.
Our generation, the next generation or two, they're going to have to deal with it. But if you do away with them now or try to then maybe 2 generations from now, and you push them underground.
Well, what it should be, if you get caught with one, there's no trial. I'm serious. I know this sounds extreme.
Yeah.
You get caught with stuff you're not supposed to have, you go to jail.
You know, when the founding...
I mean, if you got clips that are 30-round clips,
yeah.
and you outlaw them, and we got laws now that say you can't have automatic. If you get caught with one, I'm saying even before, you go to jail. There's no.
When they thought when the last school shooting, I've had friends that went out and bought them because they're afraid that they're going to outlaw. I think that the alt-right. I think I don't think the alt-left wants to outlaw all guns. They're just certain guns.
Yeah.
And the mental health, I saw somebody put something on Facebook. They said, people say, well, guns don't kill people kill people. That's what the Republicans and all. But then it's like, okay, well, nukes don't kill people.
Yeah.
But everybody's outraged because North Korea is going to get nukes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nukes don't kill people. People kill people. But they're outraged about Korea because they got nukes. It doesn't make sense.
What do you think we should do, sir?
Well, it probably never happened.
It probably won't. But I'll tell you right now, I saw the students around the country are planning a walkout on schools. Now, our generation, guess what? It's not going to happen. It's not.
Yeah.
But the students nowadays are starting to get fed up with stuff. The millennials are starting to get fed up with stuff. And things aren't going to change right now. But I want to see how this walkout stage goes on by these school students, because they are the next line of voters that are going to be coming up. Now, if the turnout is good and everybody does it and lawmakers start seeing it, eventually things will start happening. But until people start coming out to vote, it's never going to change.
I'm not against a guy having a hunting rifle. I'm not. Okay?
Absolutely not.
And I know you don't want to agree with this, but an AR-15, as it's made.
Okay, I understand that.
As it's made, unaltered, but you can alter a lot of weapons, okay?
I understand.
So this brings me to I read an article that says, what we got to do is if you get caught with one of these illegal devices, then it's going to be like the old zero tolerance.
You know what else I
where
saw?
you don't get a break, you go right to jail, okay? You're not supposed to have them.
Right.
So,
Well, it's kind of like if you commit a crime with a gun, it's 5 years. You know what else I saw somebody recommend? Insurance. If you own an AR-15, you have to buy insurance on that gun.
How does that work out? We can't even get people to buy car insurance.
Well, people that own an AR-15, if you're going to be able to afford an AR-15, you should have insurance on it. I mean, there has to be some type of way that we can manage this thing so our kids, and this is only going to get worse.
Were you in the Army, sir?
No.
Were you in the military at all?
No, I wasn't. But here's my take on it. If we can somehow get elected officials that could make illegal rifles, automatic rifles illegal, and then make all these giant clips illegal, and then go from there and say, hey, if you're caught with one, it's 5 years in jail, or it's a $500,000 fine.
Right. I'm in favor of, you get warned once and you go to jail. That's all.
The actions of a few have always ruined things for the many. It's ridiculous. I mean, people have to start, people are dying, Kaz.
Hey, look, I know everybody's afraid the government's going to come in and take over everything, and if they do, okay, I can guarantee you your AR-15 is no match for a tank or an F-16, okay? Yeah. So, but look, I'm not, when I was in the military, I handled one of those M16s, actually,
Yeah. In the military, they should have them.
And you don't hunt deer with that one.
A police, they should have them. But the average citizen that can go out and buy an AR-15 and just start going off and whacking people?
Well, I think it's the one when they modify them. That's the one. When they start modifying them, because it's basically a carbine, okay?
Yeah.
That shoots a NATO round, and it's nothing different than another weapon. Yeah. The problem is when you put multi-clips in there and then you put the bump stocks where you can make it automatic, or in the old days you could change, the armorers could do that. inside you change a pin.
You know, I am not a liberal left person. I'm more of a moderate Democrat. And at this point, we have got to do something.
Well, I agree with you because, the day I have to start getting carded to go into a movie theater or a mall like they do in some towns, that's a day when I stay home.
Yeah.
You still there, sir?
Yeah, they ought to make just automatic weapons illegal, single shot only. Today, Ben Franklin and George Washington, they're giving the people the right to bear arms. It wasn't these AR-15s, that's for sure.
And back when they passed the law, there was no standing army, there was no sheriff's departments, there was no Wegmans or Tops grocery store.
Those people were.
So those people had to have a weapon. I
mean, we're a new nation, and we could have been overran by anybody.
Well, you need it for hunting.
And you know how long it takes to load a musket? By the time you shoot one person and reload your musket, the whole school's empty.
2 shots a minute.
And then you're jumped and beat up. I mean, it's like they had no idea that people would start doing this to ourselves, to each other as a nation. And something has to be done, and it's going to have to start happening soon. And he's right, it's not going to be our generation. It's going to be the next generation that takes it to the next step so that the following generations hopefully don't. I mean, we kill each other at a rate that higher than any other developed country in the world. And this is the greatest country to live in, and yet we have the highest murder rate throughout the world. I don't get it.
Yep, it's unbelievable. Hey, real quick, then I'll get off.
Yeah.
As you might remember, I don't know if John, you would remember, the Kmart East in Harbor Creek there, the East Kmart.
Yeah.
Did they have a grocery store connected to the Kmart?
I'm trying to think.
Remember that?
It was across the road.
No, that was Giant Eagle.
No, right? You could walk from the Kmart into like a Kmart grocery store.
I don't remember that on the east side.
And
it would be like where the Big Lots is and, that whole thing.
Right.
I'd have to ask my wife because I don't remember. What did you say?
A milk and cereal type. A small store. Was it a small store you're talking about or a grocery store?
I swear to God, it was a Kmart grocery store.
I don't remember that.
I don't either.
You might. I'm gonna have to ask somebody out there.
Yeah, if any callers remember that, probably the older generation would.
Well, Kmart did have
6 or 7 years old.
Kmart did have some. They had one on the west side, didn't they?
That I can't remember, but I'm remembering the east side.
I remember the one on Peninsula Drive. They had a store separate. I forget what they called it, a K something, and then they had what they called. This really goes back. They entered the fast food business. They had K-Chef, which was they built it on the front of the store facing that'd be facing West 26th Street. It looks like a little drive-in there now. It was a Doctor in a Box for a while and a couple other things, but I think you're right. They did have separate stores for Kmart.
And I thought it was a Kmart grocery store.
Yeah, they didn't have them. They had them like separate.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't even have to walk outside. Once you were in Kmart, there was like an aisle where you could just walk into the Kmart grocery store.
I think you're right, but I don't remember if they had in Harbor Creek. That's the one I don't remember.
Was it a separate?
That's the one we used to always go to. It's always lived on the east side here, and that's what I remember. But I was so young.
Yeah.
I can't find anybody that can actually remember that.
Well, I remember when we had the, what was that? Super Duper? No. Yeah. There was what was the one where the ice rink was next to the bowling alley? That was a grocery store.
The bowling alley?
It wasn't Super Duper because Super Duper was on the Elm Street site.
Yeah.
But there was a grocery store where the ice rink was and what became the next to the bowling alley.
Was it like
where we had the roller rink and the ice rink?
Yeah.
That was a grocery store when they first built it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it, but it'll come back to me.
Yeah, that's so long time ago.
Well, when I moved on the east side, I said, wow, I said we had where Value Home Center was. They had a Loblaws there. We had a grocery store on the corner of Pine Avenue. what was that called? Antonio's. And then we had a grocery store at Perry Plaza. We had another one at Elm Street.
Yeah, we had them all over.
We had them all over the place. D&R, that was the one it was called. D&R Grocery. It was at the ice rink site.
Now, John may remember this one, because this isn't too long ago. The Super Duper West, where Champion Ford is.
Yep.
They used to, it was like a high-scale shopping. They actually had carpeting in there, low lighting.
And you remember they had that oak room in the back, restaurant, but they did something nobody else ever tried. They put a liquor store right next door, separated by a hallway, and for all intents and purposes, it really was theirs.
Yeah.
And today, what are we doing now? That's what we're doing. We're separating. I think that's all going to stop someday. We're going to quit the fallacy and just put them side by side.
Yeah, right.
You think about it, all the grocery stores that we have in this area, more than half of them are gone.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, for sure. And the small, you get a lot of the immigrants opening up small stores that they serve their population. Honestly, I've never been into one, but that's. They probably get the tax breaks and the funding to open those stores, which is good.
Well, when I was a kid, A&P was the big grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had a lot of like little independent people. Yeah. But yeah, we've lost a lot of chains over the years.
My favorite was
Acme, Kroger.
Mine was Nate Levy's Market down in the Lower East Side.
Really?
Oh, Levy's. Oh, they had everything. They had the fresh produce out front. They had everything. They worked with people. People would run in the community. You'd have a tab. If you didn't have the money right there, Nate Levy would be like, okay, and they had a ledger, and you could. And then when you get paid on payday, you'd come and you'd pay your grocery bill, and it was all good.
I'll tell you the best idea. Are you still there, sir?
Yeah.
One of the best ideas I heard, and if you go out east, you see it in eastern Pennsylvania a little bit more, but we tore down our farmers market in Erie. And Meadville kept theirs, the building. But they're talking about bringing back the farmers market concept. They have it in Allentown and Lancaster and out east in Bethlehem, different places. They're not open every day. But they offer you a chance, like you'll have Amish people come in from around there, but we could have the same thing.
Wasn't that supposed to go on at the bus company or something like
that? Or maybe at the GAF site.
And I also heard
GAF site they were talking about
up there by Griswold Park too.
Yeah, but they wanted where a GAF or the bus company would be a permanent one. It'd be undercover, and usually they only keep them open like 2 or 3 days a week. But you have people like you'll have the Amish come in from. Like they do out east, we have them coming in from like Meadville, Spartansburg area. They bring in their goods. You have people that some of the meat markets in town, the specialty places, they open up little stalls. It's really nice. It's kind of like a big giant grocery store with a lot of different people in there.
Yep, and what I think they really blew was that Harbor Creek Mall, because that wasn't a bad place to shop.
No, I remember that. It's kind of sad when you go out there now. I remember it was a mall in name only, but it was kind of like an enclosed plaza. But it was a good idea, though.
Everything you needed was there. They had a Loblaws grocery store. They had a liquor store. They had a drugstore, and they had a bank, and there was some other small shops in there.
Yeah, I remember going there. It just was.
People, I don't know why they just overbought things and got rid of it. I don't understand.
Well, I think everything developed on Buffalo Road.
Yeah.
And I don't think Harbor Creek at the time was that big. It was like just a little too ahead of itself. And
I'll tell you though,
because it was a good idea though.
The Harbor Creek area, Dean Pepicello and Joe Peck and those guys, they're doing a really good job out there. I mean, the Buffalo Road, all those stores are full. They got businesses coming in and out.
But then their good job is killing us.
Yeah,
because,
right. Well, maybe we should be a little more business friendly.
It's sad. All the grocery stores we lost, and if we lose 2 more.
I tell the story of my parish priest went up to Applebee's, and he talked to him, and it was a classmate of his, And he said, why don't you build an Applebee's on the east side of Erie? And if you look at the 5th Ward in Erie, which is southeast Erie, it's southeast and southwest Erie is economically probably I would say per capita income is the highest there.
Right.
Plus you also get the bleed over from, if you ever been to like the breakfast place, you get people coming in there from Harbor Creek and Mill Creek.
Well, you get Barron kids, you get
Right.
Mercier's kids.
And when he brought it up, they go, nah, it's Erie, we don't want to go there because the taxes are higher. So where'd they put the Applebee's? 1 block into Harbor Creek.
Yeah.
And I'm going,
It would have been nice right on that corner where.
but see, we're up against, if we want to build anything in Erie, it's like we're up against Harbor Creek now. Harbor Creek is not Erie. I mean, I'm glad they got things, but we need to get our tax base going.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see the outskirts growing, Harbor Creek, Mill Creek, and all those.
But John,
We need.
are you still there, sir? Oh, John, I'll tell you this. When I was a kid, it was the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Everything came into the city. East, west, that's how it usually worked. You got two of everything. But now they're going out to Harbor Creek and Mill Creek. Not because anything we did wrong.
Yeah.
They have less restrictions out there. Go ahead, caller.
Hi. Do you think maybe this new administration could start enforcing the parking laws around the city instead of just in the city downtown area? What I'm talking about is parking on the wrong side of the streets.
Where do you live about?
Southeast Erie.
I was,
Okay.
this morning, it's funny you said that. You know Sue, she works for the parking authority.
Right.
She was out giving tickets today, actually right by your house, Sean, actually. And, so I pulled over and I said, boy, you're being a meanie today, aren't you? Because there's like 3 or 4 of them. They are out, but maybe not as many as need to be out. But, they were out today. I know Sue, she writes up a lot of tickets.
I can tell you this, sir. I talked to Ray Massing. I'm now the liaison to parking again. We have discussed with him the problems, especially with the district up there around Briggs Avenue and Lewis.
Oh.
Right.
And that's one area because of the college kids. But all over the city, I got kids parking on sidewalks, parking the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
And what we're doing is as we redesign the new parking system with the meters, part of the thing was letting them have some of the fine money. And part of the deal is that we're going to expect them to cover the outlying areas a little better, and because the police, I'm not saying they won't do it, but they're awful busy. And so the parking authority is going to be called upon to, like we've had a lot of neighbors complain in the Briggs and Lewis area that, if we had to get a fire truck up there or even a plow truck, it's next to impossible. And I agree with you, and that's going to, when we meet with Ray Massing again, I will relay our thoughts to him. But it's really going to take the administration and council and the public badgering them to get it done.
Any car that's parked illegally should be processed through the parking authority.
Well, we want to change that because we don't think right now we think the system's not working as well as it could. We are aware of it. And we have talked about possibly the parking authority may take a little more interest in that.
They should.
And
we need police out fighting drugs and doing,
well, that's not to say
other crimes.
The police can't do it when they don't have any, like obviously if they're in the area and they like if you go down Parade Street right now, it's a joke. Have you been down Parade Street?
Yeah.
You got cars parked on the sidewalks.
I mean, that should not be happening. But
Where's your particular problem, sir? You don't have to give me your address, but give me like a general location.
Southeast Erie, south of 28th Street, between 28th and 38th Street, Burton and Davison.
They park the wrong way, right?
Well, they park on the wrong side of the street, parking the wrong way, yes. But you see that all over town anymore.
Yeah, there's nobody. I got to say, there's a lack of really respect and common sense.
in the wintertime, it's even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Then the plows can't go through the streets.
It's like really, even on my street, nobody should really be on the street, but they do it anyway. And then, you got people that, they're blocking sidewalks and everything else. It's just not good.
The parking authority could probably hire one more person and just go on the outlying areas of the city, giving parking tickets, and probably after 2 or 3 months, the fines would more than pay for their salary for a year.
Mm-hmm. Probably right.
Yeah, that's what we were talking with them on that's why we were giving them a little cut of the revenue on the tickets. And I think what we need to do is for those that don't pay, we have to do what we did with the garbage bills, which is we have to be a little more proactive.
Now, there's a car parked on Fairmont Parkway on the south side of the street between Harrison and Wagner that has been there since last summer with no tags on it.
Oh, you get that tablet there.
Been a snowbird all winter.
It's on Fairmont Parkway?
On Fairmont Parkway, the south side of the street between Harrison and Wagner.
Harrison and Wagner, right?
Yep. Been sitting there since last summer. No tags on it.
Geez, I was just over there yesterday, too. I went over to Ricardo's. I should have taken a little extra ride and looked at it.
And I noticed it because it's been a snowbird all winter.
Yeah, they're all over. Well, Kaz will get right on that.
We'll turn that in and see if they do anything with it.
Have you noticed down at the Elm Street Walmart, they put red cones in front of the store where it says no parking?
No, I haven't been there lately, but that's a good idea.
But I haven't either, but somebody told me that. It's been like that for a couple of weeks now. They put red cones out there because people are parking there all the time. It says no parking, fire lane. But these people have the mentality, I guess, if you park there, put your flashers on, that makes you an emergency vehicle.
Yeah, and you know what? A guy told me once, I remember when I used to work for the parking authority, and they would tell me, you can't make this up. They'd say, well, I'm only going to be here a minute. And I said, well, can you predict to me when the fire will happen inside the building?
Exactly.
Are you that good that you can actually predict that there won't be a fire when you're here? But yeah, I go up to that Walmart and it's amazing. Like, all you want to do, you can't even drive there because they're parked and it's the same thing that I'll give up there on the west side with the tops up to Liberty Plaza. You got campers that camp there. It's like, put the flashers on or at the tops on the east side. They camp out there too. I'm going, no, you don't camp out there.
Yeah, that's getting just as bad. Tops up on east side 38th Street.
I was in Harbor Creek one time years and years ago. Now they don't have a police department, but it was comical. I watched a guy park illegally in a handicap zone.
Yeah.
Or another guy in a pickup zone. They both got tagged by the state police, and I was listening to him arguing with him, and he just had no sense of humor. He just kept writing. And
state police will patrol that Walmart on Buffalo Road, and also I think Harbor Creek Code Enforcement will.
Yeah.
Well, all right, thanks for calling.
Okay.
Have a good day.
I'll turn that one in and see what happens.
I was watching this show this week in Pennsylvania politics. They were talking about the gerrymandering.
Yeah,
they had the Republicans on there.
That's a terrible. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. I called 2 years ago and complained about parking on both sides of the street on East Avenue between 38th Street and Grandview. Especially when there's snow on both sides of the road.
Mm-hmm.
You can hardly get a car through there. You will never get a fire truck through there. Plus, if you get it, even with no snow, you have to go real slow to get through there if there's cars parked opposite each other on both sides.
That's on East Avenue, right?
They should make it one way or on one side of the street only, just like they do all the way down to 28th Street.
It's not odd even parking?
No.
Oh.
That's on East Avenue between 38th and Grandview, right?
Yes.
That's a hill there, too.
Yes, it is.
I called you 2 years ago, Kaz, and told you about this. Nothing's been done.
Well, I think what we're going to have to do, I mean, I turned it in, nothing happened. I think what we'll have to do is make a formal council resolution, which will then instruct the traffic engineer to study it and report back to council.
Plus, there's college kids up there.
Well, that's what's changing the whole area. I mean, I got a problem at the bottom of my hill. It's not that bad, but what happens is they're parked right up against the corner. So you come around in wintertime, and you got somebody sitting there waiting to go on to 38th Street. You can't get by him. Now you're almost hit.
Plus, they parked it the wrong way.
Yep. I'll put it in for I can't get it in on this Wednesday meeting, but I'll do it for the one in March. I'll order the traffic engineer to do a study on it. And if I can get 4 votes, she'll have to, do a traffic study on changing the parking regulations.
Okay, have a good day.
Okay.
Thanks. I was listening to the show about gerrymandering, and the Republicans, they were talking about how they redistricted before. And they said, nowhere in the law does it say that the voting districts have to be fair. As far as, what registered voter. It doesn't have to be fair. And I'm sitting there going, wow. And then 2 sentences later, the guy said, well, Democrats, they're just mad because they can't beat us at the ballot box. Two sentences later. And I'm like, are you serious? You just told us you made it it's unequal, and then a minute later, you can't beat us at the ballot box. Too bad.
So now they want to change it back in their favor.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Go ahead, caller.
Hi, Kaz. This is Freda. John, one good way to help increase revenues in the city is to check out those small groceries, the Immigrant Tab. I've been buying really great hummus and baba ganoush at the store on 12th, just west of the Bayfront Connector, and I've had sandwiches, all kinds of things. There's really great things to be bought at these little stores, and they do provide grocery items. And by the way, Kaz, at least the West Side Tops isn't going anywhere soon. They're growing great guns. But one thing I did want to mention about...
Freda, if Tops goes under, it has nothing to do with East and West. The whole chain is in trouble.
Well, that doesn't always mean it's going to go out. But
but they are seeking bankruptcy protection, which means, and I've seen this before with other chains, they got to reorganize, and if...
Right, but I only have a few minutes left, and I'd like to...
Oh, go ahead. I'm not going to cut you off. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So, you guys passed this resolution about putting a wall on top of the parapet along the Bayfront Connector.
It hasn't been decided.
Well, you put a resolution in to pay the designer an extra $12,000 or some amount of money over the money they already got.
No, there was money saved, so I don't want you speaking misinformation. There was money saved on the demolition. The state has used that money for other things, and since it was brought to their attention, maybe not by CPR, but people during the hearings were concerned that the barricade...
No hearings. There have been no hearings.
Well, Fred, it came up somewhere. They didn't make it up.
There have been no hearings. No, it came up...
Fred, I'm not going to argue semantics with you. It came to the attention during one of the sessions where they talked with the public, whether it was whatever you want to call it, that they weren't happy with the barricade. Now, nothing has been decided how they're going to do it, whether it's going to be chain link, concrete, but they're going to address the issue of trying to make that area safer. So the $12,000 is a study, and it's going to probably be done when we do the other Buffalo Road project. I just want you to know.
Well, I talked to both John Tushak and Bill Pettit.
Mm-hmm.
No, not John Tushak. I talked to Bill Pettit, and what Bill Pettit told me was that it came up at the public plans display. People mentioned it.
Right.
That he said that John Tushak wanted to be transparent. I'll let other people tell you some of the problems with that. If it were concrete, it would be a real safety hazard for people being totally not visible and I wouldn't walk in such a place. But the thing that is misinformation that I would like to correct is, I was looking at the LRK study documents. The LRK is the same people who worked on the design. There are 6 different places in the minutes of the CAC meetings where there were public comments from people who expressed concerns about the snow and the safety on the Bayfront connector. 6 different places. And the same people who are going to do this designing of a wall that they ignored the comments during the review process, now they're doing it at the last minute. That's not good process.
Well, Fred, the state determines who they hire for these studies. Since they're paying 95% of the bill, we don't get to pick that.
This is yet another reason why we have been asking for an actual hearing, because there is so much information that has been put out.
Fred, they're going to do something. They have not made up their mind what they're doing.
On the whole project, you folks approved this wall thing, and one of the council members believed it was the thing in the middle, not alongside the walkway. There's just been so much.
The one in the middle. What do you mean the middle?
The place where they want to keep people from jumping across. All I'm saying is,
it's going to be the walkway. The walkway is where the issue is. Where we put up the flags on Veterans Day. Okay, just so you know, I do walk that when I put the flags up and everything. I've been on that bridge.
Once a year.
No, whether it's once a year or twice a year, Freda, I do walk it, okay? And I have walked it. You cannot say I walk it once. You don't know how many times I walk it. I'll call you if you want me to. And, can I ask you, do you drive a car?
Yes, I didn't have a car for 9 years, but when I had
But you're contributing to the emission problem.
When I had a significant issue with my knees, I bought a car. But I didn't have a car for 9 years, including 1 year in Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, look, we did not authorize, we had just authorized a study using funds that are available. They're not additional funds. They're funds that are left over because the demo project, as you know, came in a lot lower than they thought. And there's money earmarked, and they will spend every dollar of that on related issues.
Let me ask you this, Freda. What would be as far as the public hearing goes, what would you like to see? I mean, what would be the ultimate outcome?
There have been a lot of things that did not come out in the process. It did not come out in the process that a purpose and needs, a list of purpose and needs were developed, and that the project had to address the purpose and needs. The only issue in the purpose and needs around pedestrian safety was people running across the connector. They didn't address the north-south crossing at 12th and the Bayfront connector because that wasn't contemplated. That should have gone back into a real public involvement process to decide if, in fact, it was still the preferred alternative to tear the viaduct down. This idea of the wall, that came up at the last minute because they ignored the concerns that people had all the way along.
I wouldn't say that. Fred, I've been to other parts of the Commonwealth, okay?
6 places in the document where people brought up the issues of snow, and they waited until after the design was done to decide to address it. But they ignored the people at the Citizens Advisory Committee who brought it up.
Okay.
We want to have a hearing, and we want PennDOT and city to be there and to go on record about these issues about why do you need an 8-inch concrete base if you're only going to have pedestrians.
Well, I can tell you one thing that I know for sure. PennDOT will not be there if you have a hearing.
An 8-inch concrete base where? On the McBride Viaduct?
There's the engineer at PennDOT is saying that they have to put in order to rehabilitate the viaduct to their standards, there would have to be an 8-inch concrete base.
Well, they're telling you that's what the new standards have changed, Freda.
But it's a pedestrian bridge. It's not a vehicular bridge.
No matter what it is, you have a railroad running underneath it. And you have to make the railroad confident that nothing's going to fall under there, or you have ADA standards now that the bridge does not meet, even if it's a pedestrian. Now they would grandfather in the fact that it's 2 feet short in height now. That would be grandfathered. But they can't grandfather the fact that ADA compliance, that bridge is not in compliance, the slope is not adequate for wheelchairs.
Yet people use it with their wheelchairs.
Yes, they use it, Freda, but if you were to open up a business right now in the city of Erie, and I'll give you an example. They opened up, was it a Quiznos downtown once? Remember that? Right next to McDonald's?
The state opened up their new unemployment office.
Yeah.
Was not ADA compliant.
How do you know it's not ADA compliant?
How do I know? Because...
What's not compliant? Because you need to point that out then, Freda. Because I'll tell you, when the breakfast place on the west side of town opened, they went after them because they had a ramp. They had a ramp, but they said the ramp was not ADA compliant. They had to put a new ramp in. When they built the Quiznos on State Street, that's not there anymore, they had to put a ramp in. The ramp had to be compliant. We had to hire an engineer in the city to make sure all these places where we can't be compliant, because you got a building like the Renaissance building sitting there and you can't change the whole building. We've had to work around that issue. They had to put an elevator into the building on 12th Street next to Cat TV, because they couldn't. That's why a lot of these buildings downtown, you can't rent them out. You either have to put an elevator in there.
That's why the whole mixed-use facility downtown is a failing proposition, because you have to put elevators in these buildings.
Or ramps. And then, I don't know what the rules are. I'm an accountant. I'm not an engineer, and I'm not an architect.
I went to the downtown conference they had here about 10 years ago. They had it at the Hill. The number one problem is you have to have elevators in these buildings, and it's not cost. Elevators are expensive.
Not if you're going to charge normal rent.
You can't.
If you're going to charge high-end rent. I remember the guy that put the elevator in next to the old firehouse.
I'll let you.
He had to take a loan. Go ahead, Fred. I'll let you finish.
Fine.
Go ahead. But I mean, look, I can't tell them what to do. Yeah. If they tell me the bridge is not compliant with ADA standards, how do I complain?
I just wish it was just drivable, like in the good old days, to be honest with you. But
well, that's not coming back because, hey, look, I'm not an engineer. And, you can argue this to the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we are by far out of time. He's given us the...
We should have brought Sean up here. He could have talked about gerrymandering.
Yeah. Well, I started to, but then we kept...
Sean, I want you to come on and talk about gerrymandering.
Sean, he's a null. He knows all kinds of stuff. And we get Kathy, too. So, well, thanks for having me, Kaz. And
Sean was actually the best opponent I ever ran against. We had a good time. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He does a lot for the party, too. So thanks for having me, and we'll see next week. We'll see.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Where's that music, Mike?
Hey, we got to change the music.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9.